We're going to have this non-Newtonian fluid which hardens on impact. Non-Newtonian.
Non-nutritive cereal varnish. It's a beautiful product. I like it.
Really love that RF-1400. My helmet that I'm going to stick with going forward. Hey guys, this is Dan with Gears and Gadgets. Thanks for tuning in. So as you guys can see, I have all these helmets here. It's actually getting to be a bit obnoxious. And I wanted to talk about which helmet here is right for me. Now, before you guys go rolling your eyes, I really don't care what helmet you purchase here. I know you see the Ruroc sitting here, and anybody who's been paying attention to the YouTube space for the last few years knows that Ruroc is relatively new, and they've been marketing a ton on YouTube. So I want to make it clear to you guys, I am not in any way, shape, or form financially tied to Ruroc or Shoei. I'm just here kind of spitballing some things with you guys and sharing with you what I think is the best helmet for me. The answer might shock you guys, so stay tuned for that. I do want to talk about this stuff in depth, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that Ruroc did just announce the Atlas 4.0, and I wanted to talk about it more in depth. So in terms of sponsorships on this channel, I always disclose if I'm sponsored in any way, shape, or form, if something was provided to me. It's just something that I feel like, again, my reputation on this platform that really is my currency. So now that I've gotten my intention out of the way, I do want to talk about my history with helmets. I started riding with this RF-SR. I bought this helmet when I first started, and I spent, $350. I saved up the money that I could to buy the best helmet that I could at the time, and that's what I went with. Now, I fell in love with the Shoei brand at that point, graduated to the RF-1200, and that's when I did a sponsored video. They just cut me a break on the helmet. It was, I want to say, maybe $350, $400, something I spent on a $500 helmet. And I promoted that on the channel. Loved it just as much as my RF-SR, a little bit better. Then the RF-1400 came out, and I decided to buy that one. I just bought it on Amazon. I loved it, and it's been a great helmet. So that was my history with helmets. I've been riding with this RF-1400 all the way up to today. Then I bought this Ruroc Atlas 3.0. Now this helmet, clearly I cut this thing in half, and those videos did pretty well. And honestly, my response to the initial 3.0 was...
That cheek pad is garbage.
So interesting, after that video, I started having conversations with Ruroc. They reached out, and they told me about this new cheek pad that they had, a much more premium cheek pad, and asked if they could send me another 3.0 because I clearly can't review it in this one, aside from duct taping it back together. And I said, look, I'll take a look at it, and if it's worth talking about, I'll talk about it. Don't send it to me if it's junk. So I did another video on the 3.0, and my response was, this is much better. I mean, it was totally changed the dynamic of the helmet. You can see layered foam compared to the single piece of foam that came out of the 3.0. This clearly much more premium and felt better. So I made a video saying that the 3.0 was much improved with these cheek pads, told people how they could get them, and kind of left it at that, jumped back to my RF-1400. I also purchased a Sedici Strata 2 from a local cycle gear because one of the commentaries that I was receiving on the video was that Ruroc, there's a lot of people that kind of overcorrect and they start saying, oh, it's only a $200 helmet. So I went out and bought a $200 helmet and compared the Sedici Strata to the Ruroc Atlas 3.0. So then the other helmets that you see here, this again, the 3.0 that was sent back out to me, that was free. I didn't pay for that. Now you see an Atlas 4.0, which is the blue one here. I think they call it Ultramarine. That was a helmet I got at the product launch where it was, again, provided to me because this helmet's not even for sale yet. And I rode with it back home from Vegas to Phoenix, and that's when I realized it was just too tight. The new 4.0 has much more, it's hard to even explain, improved cheek pads, whole different ball game. And so the old size that I had in the 3.0 was wrong on the 4.0. So I did reach out to Ruroc and said, I rode for a couple hours home. I did have to switch back to my RF-1400, but I actually did like that 4.0, and I would like one in the appropriate size to be able to speak a little bit more intelligently if you have the ability to get one out to me. And lo and behold, there you have an Atlas 4.0 in Ghost in the white. When the CEO of Ruroc reached out and engaged with me with my content, The very, very first thing that comes to mind as a creator, somebody who's very protective of my reputation on this platform, was that manipulation radar is just pinging on overdrive because I'm concerned that somebody's going to try to convince me to either pull that video or maybe come out and retract that video. You have to have that radar up with this sort of platform. And that's where I was with the Ruroc thing. So I went through a few rounds of conversation with Dan Reese, and he mentioned that he would invite me to this event. So instead of me just getting that invite and, saying, hey, I saw your product, no thanks, not interested, slam the door, close that chapter, I just kind of decided it's not too far from the house. I'll take a ride up there and kind of see what's going on. So I made it to the event. So as I'm looking around the room, I can't help but to notice I don't see any of the other big name people that push the brand. And at first I was concerned about that. But then I realized that I think I'm witnessing a bit of an evil genius here, because there's no hiding the fact that this narrative existed. They know that. And honestly, it dawned on me that if you have a good product, you really don't want the people coming out that have already promoted the brand saying it, because everybody knows that that's kind of the content that's probably going to come. They would be expecting that. What you wouldn't be expecting is some dummy like me who came out and laughed at the last one to come out and say, this thing is legit. I think that statement right there is far more valuable than anybody else who's ever supported the brand previously. And I fully expect them to come out and say this thing's awesome, because it is. The value of a hater being willing, able, and coming to the event on their own dime to sell that narrative, that's invaluable. I'm an idiot. And honestly, I'm saying that half joking, but I know the value of this message. It is not lost on me, but I'm also here to speak the truth. That's what I'm doing, speaking the truth. For Ruroc to sort of know that and invite me to this event, calling my bluff, knowing like, hey, he's going to come because it's something to talk about. Why wouldn't you come? And keeping it at that level, not having all the bigger creators there. I don't know if that was intentional, but if it was, I do think it was brilliant. Honestly, the execution was perfect, because they know, give them access, give them something to talk about. If there is something to talk about, if there wasn't, they wouldn't have invited me. And it really is that simple. So very well played, Ruroc. I kind of see that if it wasn't intentional, I'd be shocked. But in that scenario, what is totally out of their control is I could have showed up to that event, unboxed that helmet, laughed about it, made the content saying, yeah, it's still just a joke. That content, I said it in my last video, would do way better than this video is ever going to do to come out with a negative narrative. Yeah, for sure would have been a much better video in terms of, growth on my channel. But that was a risk that Ruroc took. And watching this video, you have to acknowledge that and say, like, it's a pretty bold move. And, my hat's off to that. Which helmet am I going to stick with? I absolutely love this RF-1400. It's amazing. I have a season plus on this 1400. It's got plenty of life left in this thing. The 4.0, I've got maybe 6 or 7 hours on it. So is it fully vetted out yet in terms of what it is? Probably not. So while I wasn't really expecting to be blown away with this Ruroc, which I was, I do think this thing is a contender for sure. These brands, I just point out Shoei, but HJC, Arai, I think they have some things to worry about. I really love that RF-1400. It's kind of a lot to not ride with Shoei. I've been riding with it forever. So with that being said, my helmet that I'm going to stick with going forward, it's the Ruroc. It's the Atlas 4.0. It's crazy to me to say that. It's even crazier for me to say that at this point, not being paid to say it. So just to make this very clear, I'm switching because I want to. I'm switching because I was blown away with the 4.0, after I put some hours on it. For those of you who don't think for a split second that I am much more apt to want to run with the helmet that I personally spent $500 on and literally just put a $200 Transitions lens on. This is a $700 personal investment in this RF-1400. To think that I would just, oh, I got a free helmet, so I'm going to switch to that one. I would much rather wear what I bought, especially promoting something that I'm not being paid to promote, which is even crazier. So that's where I'm at with this whole thing. I'm just trying to come out and speak the truth to you guys. I have combined now 6 or 7 hours on the Ruroc Atlas 4.0. I went out on Saturday and I put that thing through its paces. I left here, it was 60 degrees in the morning. I rode up into the mountains, it was 40, there was snow on the ground. And then when I came back to Phoenix, it was 80 degrees and sunny. So I made sure that I put it through as much weather as I could possibly at that point in time, and it was fantastic. So this is not just a new version of the 3.0 with a new liner and that's it. This is ECE 22.06. It's a whole different standard in terms of testing. Now, I am not some sort of engineer that's going to get into all of those testing standards, but there is a video from Fortnite about Snell, which I've personally always been a big Snell guy, and he kind of helped me open my eyes to the Snell game a little bit, and I think that the 22.06 standard from ECE is potentially better than Snell. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think? There is now closable vents on the 4.0. It was quieter than my 1400, and that is a perception thing. So I want to make sure you guys understand. I'm not running testing equipment to verify that. The 1400, I ride with earplugs. I'll link here or show here what the earplugs are with the medium baffled inserts, I guess you'd call it. But I just felt like the 4.0 was quieter, and I don't understand how, because the 3.0 was a very loud helmet comparatively. I'm really surprised how they did it. I don't know how they did it. So stepping back from all of reading specs and all of the impressive market speak, just going back to basics, comfort. I thought it was more comfortable than my RF-1400, or just as comfortable as my 1400. The controllable ventilation, the fact that I can open and close those vents, it's awesome. I thought the vision was great. No different than my RF-1400. I didn't feel like I had any blind spots. The visor's clear. This is a helmet that Ruroc had cut in half at the event. This is an Atlas 4.0. They cut this in half because of my other videos and had it waiting there, basically to call my bluff, because they knew that I was going to cut this thing in half. And it has the new liner. This is the rayon liner and all that. I mean, there's a lot here. You guys can go read all of their marketing speak. But I'll tell you what, these cheek pads, I'll do another video getting into comparisons of these things halved, because there is a lot to talk about. But just on the surface, these cheek pads, they have some little wings here that kind of help, I think, keep some of the wind out. Very, very plush, to the point where it's actually slightly more plush. I kind of like the liner more than my 1400. This is not just a turning of the corner for Ruroc. This is them hitting a hairpin turn at 180 miles an hour and just full throttle getting out of that corner. Come back and see the comment section after people get this thing in their hands, because I am fully ready, willing, and able to be judged by time. This is one of those things that people that are leaving comments at the very beginning of this video dropping are going to be probably somewhat negative, I'm sure. But as time progresses, watch the comments progress with it, because I think it really will. The other part of this is Ruroc stayed engaged. What I mean by that is this is an Atlas 4.0 that at the event, they cut in half. They did that because my last video where I cut the 3.0 in half, they knew I was coming. They had this waiting for me. What better way to show somebody who just showed up to your event that was negative about your last product? Here it is. You don't need to cut it. We already did it for you. And for those of you who are going to say, and I already see the comments, I saw it on my last video, well, they gave you a different version than they're going to give everybody else. That is why when you guys comment, hey, I can take this one off your hands, or I can take that one off your hands. Hey, would you be willing to sell one of those? The answer is no, because if this helmet is any different, if I saw comments, if I saw a narrative coming out where people thought that was happening, not only do I have the half helmet here that they sent to me from the event, I've got 2 other demo helmets here that they gave to me, a YouTuber. I can easily figure this out because I can just order a helmet through one of my buddies, have it shipped to their house, my name not attached to it, and I can cut a consumer version of the helmet and have something to compare it to. These are an insurance policy for me, so not for sale, not giving them away. I apparently am just collecting helmets now and halved helmets because I have to have these as a frame of reference going forward, because if I am going to come out here and put out an unpaid narrative that I'm going to ride with this helmet, I need to be comfortable knowing that I can go back to these helmets if I need to. I don't suspect that I'm going to have to. That's kind of where I'm at with the brand now. This is my new helmet for now, the Atlas 4.0. I'm sold. This has been a wild ride for me. Never would have assumed that I'd be showing you guys a helmet that I'm going to be riding with from Ruroc. If you told me that a couple months ago, I would have laughed at you. But I got access to an event. They sort of called my bluff, I suppose you'd say, and they came to the table with a banger. I think time will agree with me that that is what we're dealing with here. So I'm going to do a couple more videos probably on the new chain app that they have, because I think it's worth talking about. I'll do another video kind of comparing the cut in half helmets, because there's also a lot to unpack there. This video already got long-winded. There's too much to talk about. But in terms of, you know, me making my channel all about, you know, Ruroc helmets, I have no reason to. So I just wanted to share this with you guys because I know this helmet drops soon. I believe it drops on, today is Tuesday. I think it drops this Friday. So I know it's going to be talked about, and I'm just lucky enough to get access to one to talk about it, and it's my helmet now. So that's where we are now. So guys, thank you very much for tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, please hit that subscribe button down below. Remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel. I'll see you guys next time.